Have you ever saved all year for that one family vacation and ended up stressed out about every single dollar?
Not anymore. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Jo. We're two busy moms who have cracked the code on travel with points and miles.
We're here to show you how we turn everyday expenses into extraordinary vacations.
This is Wonderland on Points, where we share tips and tricks to help you earn free and deeply discounted travel.
Let the adventure begin. Welcome back to another episode of Wonderland on Points presented by Yahoo Travel. If this is your first time here, we are so glad that you're joining us. For everyone else, thanks for coming back. It feels good to be sitting here podcasting. It has been several weeks since you and I recorded, Jo. You've been flitting about Canada. I've been flitting about Scandinavia, and now we're back to chat.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, actually. Like Thursdays have been strange. I don't know.
Right. I know.
We have been doing this so consistently every single week for literal years that taking any kind of a break doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, and you guys, we didn't have a break for you because we made sure to record enough episodes so that we could keep our schedule every Monday and Wednesday, new episodes dropping. Thankfully, we have been able to maintain that for almost 3 years, guys, which is wild. Well, we only had one episode at first, but once we added in 2 episodes, we were like, you know what? Let's see what happens. I don't know if we can do this, but somehow we have.
Somehow, around our day jobs and everything else. I'm impressed with us personally.
I know. Exciting. I can't wait to celebrate our 3rd anniversary. We'll get there. But today we are going to focus on your trip to Prince Edward Island, which is so excited. All of the Anne of Green Gables fans out there, our childhood is just going to come back to us. You really were able to live a dream. So tell us first, how did this trip come about? This was with your mom, which is very special, a mother-daughter trip. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it was incredibly special. So actually, shout out to Cammie. She's been on our podcast several times. She was mentioning that she was working on a trip for my mom, which they've already been on now. They went on their own trip and had a lot of fun. And she threw out, like, if I could, I would take her to Prince Edward Island, but I don't think it's in the cards this year. And I was like, do you mind if I steal that? Because my mom and I watched Anne of Green Gables as when I was little. We would go to the library. We would check out the multi VHS set because it was like a limited series. So there were like 4 VHSs or something in one of these, like 6-hour movies. And we would watch them. And I feel like I have them memorized. I watched them so many times. I mean, it's just unbelievably nostalgic. And all of it takes place on Prince Edward Island. They did a lot of the filming on Prince Edward Island. And so once she put that idea in my head, I was like gung-ho. I immediately went, I looked for flights. I found them flying Air Canada both ways. They were fairly good award seats. And so at Christmas time, we surprised my mom.
I remember. I still remember the video. It was so precious.
Sweet. I'm probably going to try to put that on the internet now that we have some footage from the actual trip and I can smush it all together. But we all know how great I am at actually making content when I say I'm going to. So maybe that will never happen. I don't know. But yeah, I surprised her and then the trip finally came. It was technically for her 70th birthday. I gave it to her at Christmas time so she could anticipate. But she turned 70 in April and off we go.
There's so much research saying that the anticipation of trips gives you just as much of that, good energy and adrenaline as the actual trip itself. Like it gives you so much goodness just looking forward to something. So I love that you gave it to her at Christmas. She could look forward to it, for half the year already. None of this would have happened without Points and Miles. None of this podcast. This is why we're here. So tell us how you booked the flights from St. Louis up to Prince Edward Island on Points.
Yeah. Okay. So I was really excited to find a route from St. Louis to Charlottetown. It was not direct by any means, but it went to Toronto first and then to Charlottetown. And it was 63,000 points total on Air Canada. I transferred from a variety of different places because all the major banks transferred to Air Canada, which is amazing.
That about them.
Yeah. And then the taxes and fees were $35 a person. It was $31,500, and that was just one way. So that is steep. steep. That's not business class or anything. You can find better deals. But also, when I have that many points and I can combine from that many banks and it's going all the way to my destination and I don't have to position and the taxes and fees are really low. I mean, this is an international trip. I felt great about
Yeah.
it. What I did not realize is how close Toronto is. It was like an hour and a half flight. It was weird.
Oh, from St. Louis?
Yes. In my
Yeah.
head, it was like it was gonna, I don't know. I'm clearly geographically inept, but I can look at a map and I can be like, oh, that looks really close. And it's like 7 hours drive. And then I can look at a map and be like, that looks really far away. And it takes me an hour and a half to fly there in a plane.
I'm always shocked when I do the math too, because I've never been to like Niagara Falls, but I could drive there to my house closer than I can drive back home to South Carolina to see family. And
Isn't that
we've
weird?
never done it. And Toronto's just beyond that. I actually lived in Toronto for 3 weeks. I forget this even happened in my life. I was living in Boston and I had to go for a training. Randomly lived in Toronto for I say lived in, I was there for 3 weeks for a training. So I'm counting that as the time that I lived in Canada. So you connected in Toronto all the way to Charlottetown. But what was the lounge experience like? Because you have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card now. So you are a newly minted lounge life liver, and you had maybe your first opportunity to see some lounges.
Yeah. This was my first time traveling with my Chase Sapphire Reserve. So I was pretty excited to be able to go in some lounges. It was a little bit disappointing um, because the lounge that we really wanted to go in, there were a couple in Terminal 3. And they told us that we were not allowed to go to Terminal 3. Only
Ugh,
people flying out of Terminal 3 could
boo.
be in Terminal 3. So
I hate airports like that.
it was so frustrating. It was so frustrating. And what was sad is that ahead of time I had looked it up and it said, yeah, you can access the, AI overview. What a liar. It said you can access Terminal 3 if you're flying out of Terminal 1. It was not correct. So there is a Plaza Premium Lounge in Terminal 1. It's very cramped. There's not a lot of seating. We did put our names on the wait list. We got in pretty quick, but we ended up sitting up at the bar for most of that time. The food was decent. The coffee machine was decent. There was not steamed milk in the coffee machine, which was sad, but they did have real cream for the coffee.
Okay.
The cookies were not very good. It was sad. But
Oh, boo.
after a little while, some people cleared out. And so we got those little kind of like the seats that are kind of like a cubby. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
They're like a square. It's got a
Yeah.
depth. That was nice. I was able to sit there and do some work and write some stuff for Yahoo. So, I mean, it was nicer than being out in the terminal. Not exactly what I had anticipated. I thought we were going to be able to do a few lounges and do some hopping, but it's okay. It was still nicer than it could have been. We got some free food, free drinks,
Absolutely.
comfy seat.
Now, this was also your first time on Air Canada Metal. So, what was their economy like? I know you posted some videos that seemed pretty impressive for economy.
I loved Air Canada economy. I loved it. I felt like it was very spacious, very comfortable seats, and they have free beer and wine for everybody, which is
What?
yes. Yeah, which is fun for
Interesting.
some people. Like I'm not a huge drinker, and neither is my mom. But having a little wine at takeoff kind of makes you feel like you're fancy. So that's
For
fun.
sure.
And now it comes in a plastic cup. I'm sure if you were sitting in premium economy or business class, you would have a nicer cup. But yeah, it was great. I was comfortable. The service was awesome. The snacks were good. I would 100% do that again. And just because we were going all the way to Charlottetown, that's why this one was so expensive. But there are tons of amazing Air Canada deals all the time. I mean, truly, I just wrote about this for Yahoo. So if you're on the newsletter, you'll see it in a few weeks. But I think that Canada is such an underrated first international destination.
Oh,
People are
yeah.
always trying to go to Europe. Like, go to Canada. Your money feels like it goes so far. The award availability is incredible. You can transfer from all the banks. There's so much to see and do in Canada. It's massive.
So true. I totally agree. Well, you guys didn't actually arrive, though, to Prince Edward Island until after midnight,
Slow
which
day.
is painful for us early birds to bed. How did you with it being after midnight, did you have trouble getting from the airport to your hotel?
Yeah, so we kind of had to plan around this because I knew we were going to get a rental car on the island, but the rental car counter is not open at midnight in the Prince Edward Island airport, which is about 5 feet big.
Yeah.
So we also, I don't know what is wrong with me, but I did not ahead of time Google like, Uber, Lyft, whatever, because on my Hilton app, because we booked a Hilton for the first night, it had a button at the bottom of my reservation that said, "Need a ride? Get a Lyft." And it like took you straight to the Lyft app. So in my head, that just meant whenever we arrived, we could just get a
Yeah.
Lyft to our hotel.
No
They
problem.
don't have Uber or Lyft in Canada, or at least not on Prince Edward Island. So I'm in the airport. We are waiting on our bags because this plane was so small that they made us put our bags under the plane. And as we're doing that, I'm Googling like what's their equivalent of Uber. And there is
Yeah.
something called U-Ride and there is something called Carry, which is spelled Kari. And we ended up using U-Ride. And the weirdest part about it is like I downloaded it, set it all up, ordered our ride. It was going to be there in 7 minutes. Then I went out towards the exit and I asked a man who was working there, I was like, where do we go to get picked up by the U-Ride app? And he was like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, well, like Uber, rideshare. He said, well, we don't have that here. And I was like, what? But there was a car coming. There was a car on its way.
Yeah.
He was wrong. It did, in fact, come get us. It was completely legitimate, but it scared me for a minute. Like we went out.
Joanna was in the back of some random person's truck,
It's
random stranger.
It literally, I was like, what do you mean you don't have that here? Okay. They did have that there. And when we went outside, the guys outside knew what it was. Although apparently Carrie is used more often. I had downloaded both and I picked the cheaper one. So I
Yeah.
think it was like $16 after tip to go the, couple of minutes down the road to our Hilton.
Was the Hilton just an airport Hilton right there in Charlottetown, or what was it called?
Yeah, it was called the Hampton Inn Charlottetown Airport. I believe airport is in the name. It's very close. It's really the only one near the airport, so you won't have trouble finding it. It was a little pricey, not for a Hilton, I guess. It was 45,000 Hilton points for the night. I had a stash of those already, so I didn't transfer them from Amex or anything. But if I had, it would have been half that, which is, decent for a Hilton for sure. It was a great room. It was a very comfortable bed. It had good pillows. My mom and I were both
Oh,
like, "Oh, these are great
that is worth
pillows."
so much. I
It
am so
is.
sick of hotel pillows being absolute crap. They are so flat, little, I don't know, fake feathers, or maybe they're real feathers. I don't know. I don't like them. So hearing that the Hampton Inns have good pillows, I love that.
I know we were my mom usually travels with her pillow and she didn't because of the size of it. And so she she was like, "These are good." And I thought the same thing. So that was nice. It was a great first night. We got decent sleep. It was comfy. It was everything you needed.
And Hampton Inns have free breakfast, right? Even in Canada, you guys had free breakfast?
It was a good free breakfast. It was like real eggs, sausage, potatoes. There was a waffle station. The coffee was like actually so good. The pre-brewed coffee, and they had
Love it.
real cream to put in it. It was a great way to start the morning. I was like, this is blew my expectations out of the water. I expected some powdered eggs and
Yeah.
then maybe a bagel. So I mean, seeing a waffle station and getting an actual good cup of coffee is the best.
What is it about a waffle station? It's just so good. It doesn't matter how old I get. I'm going to be a grandma and still hoping that they have a little waffle station. I love them.
I
So
know.
you guys, after breakfast, had to go back to the airport to get your rental car, and then you had the freedom to kind of drive wherever you wanted to on the island. Was it hard? Did you book the rental car through Capital One, through one of the portals? How did you do the rental car in terms of points and miles and covering that expense with some kind of credit?
Yeah, so I booked it. I booked it ahead of time via National. So there are a bunch of credit cards that will give you status with National. The Hilton Honors American Express Business Card includes automatic complimentary National Emerald Club executive status. So look through the cards that you have to see if you have any status, because that can get you upgrades. You can sometimes bypass the rental counter. Like there are things that come with that. So I had status with National, which is why I picked them, and they were also the cheapest. Prices are going to vary a lot depending on what car, what time of year, all of the things. Our rental was very affordable. I actually put it on my Built card because I currently had my Built accelerator turned on. So I was getting 3 times points on everything, and Built has primary rental car coverage just the way our other big cards do. And it's really good coverage. So I used that. I told them at the counter I was waiving my, secondary coverage from them. And so I knew if anything happened, Built had me covered. And it was awesome. It was the best rental car experience I have ever had, that National counter in the Prince Edward Island airport. They are lovely. Just absolutely lovely.
Sometimes small airports are just the best. They are a little bit friendlier and easier to deal with than the bigger ones. I guess the bigger ones just go through so many people a day that it's just a tougher experience. So that's good.
Yeah. There are 3 gates in this airport, and they're all right next to each other in the same room. There's one room. It's like I've never seen anything like it.
Cute. Well, Charlottetown was not your ultimate destination, but you guys did, explore a little bit there before you moved on out. So what did you like? Was there any favorite stops in Charlottetown before you moved on?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. So we popped in there and we just parked the car. Parking's free on the weekends, which we found out that was amazing. And then I had looked up some highlights of some things I wanted to see. So there is a whole bunch of historic stuff downtown. This city has been here for a long time. In Anne of Green Gables, it's the big city.
Yeah.
Where she goes to Queens College, which, by the way, is not a real place, but that's okay. That's okay. It was always disappointing to find out that some things are fiction and some things are real, and I never know which is which in any of her stories. So if you are going, you're going to want to look at Victoria Row and walk down that. It's very cool old street. What I love about Charlottetown is all over the place they have plaques telling you what something used to be. So like in 1822, this was established as the first newspaper, whatever. Or this was the office of Dr. So-and-so, the only doctor in town in 1902. Or there's historical information everywhere. And they also have really good maps that map out historical routes that you can walk. So we just walked all over. We saw and went inside St. Dunstan's Basilica, which is stunningly gorgeous. There's a lot of great little gift shops. That is where I went in to one of the Anne of Green Gables gift shops and was able to put on the costume for the photo op. If nobody saw that on my stories, that was pretty fun.
I'm surprised they have not already hired you to play Anne of Green Gables in the next film, because when you put on that costume, I was like, you are her. Like, this is you in another life. You totally took on the character. You didn't even need the wig that they had because your hair was so perfect for it, and you had the braids, and it was absolutely like, am I watching the movie now? Has Joanna become Anne?
Well, and the fact that my face is eternally 12 years old looking, as soon as I put that on, I was like, oh, I actually look like a child. That's great. If I would be lying if I told you that at some point during this trip, somebody asked me if they could take a picture of me on the Anne of Green Gables property because I looked like her, and they wanted a picture as if I was like a hired Anne working there. Yes, that really did.
Well, here's your next calling. You can just move up there and play Anne. You get hired for events, and honestly, strangers can pay you $5 to be in a picture.
The dream, the actual dream. But I would highly recommend, if you are in town, definitely explore Charlottetown a little bit. I think what makes the island magical is like the rest of it, where the beauty is just stunning. But Charlottetown is very historical. There's lots to see and do. We walked down to the wharf and had potentially the best French fry. In fact, I thought of you because I know how much you love good French fries. Best French fries I've ever had in my entire life. There is a little hut on the wharf. It's called the Chip Shack. Prince Edward Island, shockingly, besides being famous for Anne of Green Gables, is famous for potatoes. Potatoes are their main crop. They have a
Interesting.
potato museum. They do lots of potato growing. And these French fries at the Chip Shack are incredible. So we got a thing of fries and they were hot and fresh and we walked around. The lady who owns the place is extraordinary. We actually went back at the end of our trip and got more French fries because we told her we had French fries all over this island and these were the best
And
ones.
yours were the best.
They were. They were. And one other thing that blew my mind while we were down on the wharf, we looked down in the water and it is full of jellyfish. Full. They were everywhere. And
This
I
is
was,
hilarious because in Norway, the same thing. From my hotel room, looking out in the water, jellyfish, which jellyfish are my daughter's favorite animal. One of them, obviously not when
okay,
she's swimming in
okay,
the
all
ocean,
right.
but she loves them. And we freaked out. It's so fun. I don't know why it's fun. It would not be fun if I was at a beach visiting,
Oh,
but it
no.
was fun to see them when I had no intention of getting in the water.
In my head, these are like deep sea creatures. I don't expect to see them near the boat docks, like just and also I learned lots in my Googling about that because I was like, are those jellyfish eating that other jellyfish? They were. They're cannibals. They're mean. So
Really?
yes, there were 3 of them eating another one.
Ew.
Yeah, it was gross. I have a video of it.
Oh,
Maybe I'll,
send it.
yeah,
Let me see
maybe
it. Text that on over.
Oh, anyways, so it was fantastic. It was a great way to kill some time because our Airbnb wasn't going to be ready for a while. We had a reservation coming up at 2, so we had hours to kill after we checked out of our hotel. And the best way to spend it, go bum around the town a little bit.
Yeah, but you guys did have a reservation, so you had to leave at some point because in Prince Edward Island National Park, and this is kind of odd to me inside of a national park, it's weird to think, you had a reservation for afternoon tea at Dalvey by the Sea. And so you guys headed out of Charlottetown and over to afternoon tea. How was that? Because it sounds truly magical.
It was extraordinary. And it wasn't even a far drive to the other side of the island, which was nice. It was like maybe 30, 35 minutes. And it is Dalvey by the Sea is the White Sands Hotel in the classic original Anne of Green Gables. So you have seen, if you have watched it, you've seen footage of this building, and it is still a hotel. It's an inn where you can stay. It's quite expensive, but boy, is
Out of
it.
the points budget.
Yeah, there is no chance, but it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. It has so much history, and they have a high tea, and I booked it for my mom and I, and it was so lovely. It was so lovely. It was about $80 USD with the tip at the end.
Per person.
Yes, per person. But
I mean, that is what afternoon tea cost at a lot of
Yeah.
fancy hotels.
we both agreed that it was 100% worth it. You each get a pot of tea and then you get this big tower with all these foods, and there were savory foods and there were sweet foods, and it's different every single day, which is pretty awesome because they have a chef with like a rotating menu, so nothing's ever quite the same, which is because I asked if I was like, could I get a menu with a picture so I can report back about all the lovely things we ate, and she's like, well, it's actually different every day. But they have a literal like dessert chef, and then they have the main chef who makes all the savory things, and there was not a single thing on that tray that was not incredibly delicious.
Is it oceanfront? Like when it's Dalvey by the Sea, can you see while you're eating and, sipping on your tea, can you see the ocean?
I did actually think that we were going to be able to see the ocean, but you cannot. The ocean is on the other side of a wall of giant fir trees. So
Okay.
we could literally walk out of the parking lot and across the little road and down onto the beach, but you cannot see it from where you're sitting. But you do look out the window on the gorgeous property. There's a big pond on the property. It's a lovely view, and just you're sitting in this old-fashioned room in this old-fashioned house, and
Yeah.
it's just a lovely experience. And you can walk on the beach before and afterwards, which we did. And something you might not know about Prince Edward Island is everything there is made of this red dirt. So if you've ever been to Georgia where they have like the red clay everywhere, it's like that. And it is everywhere. Anywhere you see exposed dirt on the island, it is this like brilliant red color. So the beaches are also this like brilliant red brown, and it's very unique and very cool. In fact, I learned that when they did some of the filming for the movie in Ontario, they brought in red dirt to make it appear to be Prince Edward Island in some of the scenes, like where buggies were driving on roads and stuff. Um, I thought that was interesting. But it
Why
is,
does the country song Red Dirt Road pop in my head right now?
I feel like it's
That
appropriate.
red dirt road. I can't even sing it. I don't even know the tune enough. Is it what? Who sings that?
I
Not George
literally
Strait. A
could
boy.
not
I
tell you.
don't know.
Could not
Somebody's
tell you.
gonna send me a message.
They sure
I
are.
know that it exists, but I cannot remember. Brooks and Dunn, maybe. I don't know. Old Red Dirt Road. It's a song. Okay. So after that, you guys checked into your Airbnb. Prince Edward Island obviously doesn't have just a ton of points chain hotels that you can stay in. And that probably wouldn't be the vibe that you want
Mm-mm.
on Prince Edward Island anyway.
No.
So you found an Airbnb. How pricey was it? Because in my mind, anything there is going to be pretty expensive. And were you able to, did you put it on like the Venture to cover it with the purchase eraser?
Yeah. So, first of all, best Airbnb. I loved it. Now, it was one bathroom and two bedrooms. So and the bathroom was very small. If you are a family that doesn't like to share a bathroom, I'm not sure it would be the place for you. But the fact that it had two separate bedrooms and a really nice living room, kitchen area, you could stick a family in there very comfortably. And it was in Hunter River, which is very central to a lot of the things that we wanted to drive and see. I would 10 out of 10 recommend this location. This Airbnb, I will put the link in the show notes. It was under $500. It was like $497 for our 4 nights, which
Oh,
I thought,
total?
yes, total.
I thought you were going to say per night.
Oh gosh, no, no. I was thrilled. I was thrilled at this price, and I did put it on. Some of it on the Capital One Venture. You know, you can pay a little bit ahead of time and then you can pay the rest
Oh,
later.
yeah.
And then I saved up my fetch points and cashed in.
Yes.
$175 of it was Fetch Points Airbnb gift cards.
Love that so much.
I was so excited to be able to do that just by scanning my receipts. That is a huge win. So this Airbnb is in a historic bank manager's apartment. So downstairs used to be I think it was called the Royal Bank of Canada, and then the manager lived above the bank. And it is no longer a bank downstairs. I think it's residential. I'm not sure it's being used, but they have done such an excellent job decorating the upstairs where it really feels like you've gone back in time. They have a record player and a typewriter, and there's a little sun porch off the back that is all windows and has a really nice view. And it just was decorated like you stepped back in time, which is exactly the vibes that I wanted for this trip.
Oh, yeah.
There are certainly some things that, like, if you are bougie and you need 5-star accommodations, it's not going to be for you. There's some bugs in the sunroom, and the seals on the windows back there are not quite good. So things are getting in and out, and it's old. It's very old. So, like, if you feel that you need bougier accommodations, go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
I do not. I do not. I love the old things. And it was so cozy and so nice. The beds were comfortable. Again, good pillows. And we absolutely loved our time here.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. It's such a treat to find. So often we stay in hotels because of points and miles. But boy, I really do love when you find a gem of an Airbnb. They can't be beat in a lot of ways, other than feeling like you have to clean at the end. But
Honestly, even that, they didn't have anything on the list like at all. It said, please put your towels in the bathtub. That was the
oh,
one thing.
beautiful.
I did more than that. We did all our dishes, and I always strip the beds because I'm weird. And so I did extra, and we took out our trash, but they didn't ask you to do any of that. And that's pretty unusual. For $124 a night, like if you're erasing, that's $12,400 a night. I mean,
Yeah,
12,
that's not bad at
dollars,
all.
not dollars. 12,400 points a night.
I
So
feel like
like
that's a steal for
it
2
is.
bedrooms.
Yes. That's what I
Absolutely.
thought.
Okay, the next morning was
Hmm.
what ended up being your favorite activity of the entire trip, which is very surprising to me,
Right?
with your
Right?
history in mind of boats and kayaks and all the things. You guys went actually sailing, which honestly, it even shocks me that you continue to book these activities, even though they make you miserable every single time because you get so seasick. But set the stage for us, because thankfully this ended up being just absolutely a lifetime core memory that you loved.
It was incredible. First of all, the reason I keep booking things is because my heart loves the sea. Just because my body does not love the sea, like in me, there is something that wants to be out on the ocean. I
Part of
don't
you
know.
kind of lives like a mermaid too. I
Ri-
know we're saying you're
You
Anne of
know,
Green Gables, but you're also giving mermaid.
I will take that. I will own that. That is the best thing I've ever heard. But I think, I don't know, my grandpa was in the Navy and loved the sea. So much of his career was out on the sea. He was a deep sea fisherman at one point. He made these paintings of these beautiful ships out on the ocean. And I always idolized my grandpa and felt like we were kindred spirits, to pull some Anne of
Yeah.
Green Gables um, words out here. And so I feel like I have always been a person who wants to be on the sea. So when I can do boating activities, I want to do them, but I almost always die doing them. And that has been a very difficult thing for me. And we will talk about how I coped with that in a minute. But first, I do want to talk about the actual sailing experience, because I knew that we were coming to the island because of Anne of Green Gables, but I wanted to see much more than Anne of Green Gables. I wanted to see the island from all the vantage points I could. I wanted to go off the beaten trail. I wanted to see it from the water. And so we ended up going out with Atlantic Sailing PEI, and they were amazing. What I did not even know when I first contacted them was that this is a small business. It is all women owned. It is Michelle and her wife Mo, and they have run this business. They came to the island for a wedding. Like
And
I think
never
it
left.
something like
They
that. They
just fell
came
in love with
they
it.
came like 15 or so years ago, and they wanted to do a sailing tour because Michelle is a captain of boats. She's always been a sailor. And they wanted to do something like what I just got to do, and there wasn't anything available. And then they just decided to create it. And then here it is all these years later. And, Mo books the appointments, and then Michelle is the captain. She is the very first commercial captain that was a woman on Prince Edward Island, which is very cool. I mean, have fishermen everywhere you look. They're very big into the lobstering and all of that kind of stuff. And she was the first commercial female captain, and she is so knowledgeable and so funny and has an awesome fiery personality, and we had the best time out with that crew. It was Michelle, Emily, and Devin. That was the crew that we had, and they were excellent from start to finish. It was such a cool experience.
How
Let
many
me bring
people were on this tour? Was it was it a large group or just you and your mom?
So it was not a private tour. I think there were 9 of us total on this boat, but it was a small sailboat. It did have a diesel engine, which gets you out part of the way. And then once you're out there, they let up the sails and turn off the engine, and you are literally sailboating, which was so cool. The other group of women on the boat with us, I believe they were Mennonites, which was very interesting. We didn't get to talk to them much because they were all in the back of the boat, and we had gone up to the front when we had gotten there before they had gotten there. But I don't know. It's not something you see or experience often, and I just am so fascinated by Mennonite and Amish lifestyle. Like, I
Oh,
wanted
I
to go
live in
back there.
Amish Mennonite country. There's
Do
so
you?
many Mennonites and Amish
I
community
had
around me.
so many
One of my best friends
questions.
actually grew up Mennonite.
Oh, I did. That's amazing. This group of women was traveling all over. They had been on this like whirlwind traveling adventure, and it's just 7 like girls and then one woman who was their chaperone. And I wanted to know so much, but I wasn't able to ask. But it was a really cool experience. On your way out of the harbor, which you go to this little dock in North Rustico, and it is so picturesque. It has the multicolored shanties, and it has all of the fishing boats. It just feels like, it doesn't feel commercial like the wharf over in Charlottetown. It feels like you're in a little fishing village. This is their livelihood. This is their home. They eat, sleep, and breathe, the water, and it just doesn't feel touristy, and I love that about it. And so they you start out, and the first thing you get to do is go over and see where they've got the clams and the mussels. Technically they're being farmed, but they're in the open ocean. So they have the cages where they grow. Often during certain times of the year, you have opportunities to see all kinds of sea life. You could see whales, dolphins, seals or sea lions. I can't actually remember, but we were a little bit too early in the season for that. But we did see a bald eagle right over our heads twice.
Incredible.
It is incredible because where I live, that is a very rare occurrence. Apparently, it is quite common here. We actually saw a baby eagle at one point during this trip.
Stop it.
It was so cute. That's a side tangent. That had nothing to do with this particular day. So after you kind of learn about the fishing operations, which are fascinating, by the way, a fishing license, like to lobster fish, costs $1.5 million.
What?
Yes, they cannot be purchased. Every single one is already spoken for. There's about 300 on the island. And the only way...
They pay $1 million a year for these?
Oh, not a year. You buy it once and then you pass it down. So the only way to get these fishing licenses now is to marry into them or to have it handed down to you.
These are like master's tickets.
Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. But then I learned that you can literally make in one season over $1 million in lobster. Like, it is wild. And so you go out into the sea and there are colorful buoys everywhere. And every single lobster fisher has their own color buoys where their lobster traps are. And everyone knows, like, you don't get too close. You don't touch their lobster traps. It's like there is an order and a hierarchy and everything else. It is a fascinating operation. I was blown away. And it is just so beautiful out there. The red coasts with the green, like fir and evergreen trees, unbelievably stunning from the water. I am so glad we were able to see it, and I am so unbelievably grateful that it was clear because there were some really foggy days on our trip. And if we had gone out there and not been able to see the coast, I would have been very disappointed. In fact, they said the day prior was like that. You could see nothing. They were like,
oh, wow.
We had people on the boat and we were like, well, usually you can see the national park coast here, but not today.
Today is fog. It is so tricky. It's such a hard thing about vacation. There's so many beautiful places that you just have to, roll with the punches, like the Grand Canyon where I saw nothing but fog. It happens, but I'm glad that you were able to see it. But do tell us and I do know the answer, because if anyone follows us online, you posted.
I did.
About how you were able to do this sailing trip, because you truly get just absolutely horrifically, miserably sick out on the water. But Relief Band literally saw you talking about this happening in Mexico and were like, girl, we got you. They sent you a relief band, and this was how you tried it out, which was kind of brave. I'm not going to lie, because you didn't take any medicine and you stepped on that sailboat fully well knowing that you could get miserably sick, but you wore the relief band.
I did. And it was amazing. And I've used it multiple times since. Guys, when I say that I was terrified to step out on this boat. Now, did I have backup medicine in my bag? I did.
But medicine takes a while to work.
It takes time. It did not even work on the boat in Puerto Vallarta. Not at all. And so I was scared. But I, had my band. I had it on already. I was ready. And about 15 minutes prior to us actually taking off, I turned it on. It is this little device that sits on your wrist and it stimulates the vagus nerve, and it basically interrupts the signals to your brain that tell you that you are nauseous and that you need to throw up. It is the most bizarre thing. And when you turn it on, you are supposed to feel a gentle pulsing in your thumb and your middle finger. And it's weird at first, but I actually came to enjoy the feeling because it was like, as long as I'm feeling these tingles in my fingers, I know that I'm not going to get nauseous. And so I actually really liked it. There was one point where I thought I was starting to feel the nausea creep up, and I had it at like maybe a level 3. And I was like, oh no. And I was like pressing up all the way to the top, and my fingers were like vibrating. And I was like, this is great. And I never got sick. And it was so choppy out there, especially the second half. The wind really kicked up. I mean, they let me go to the bow of the boat and stand there and hold on to this pole while we were literally like coasting over these big choppy waves. It felt like I was surfing or like on a roller coaster. It felt like you were getting
watch
air.
Your video because it was making me sick watching the video. So the fact that you didn't get sick is a true testament to Relief Band.
Literally incredible. This thing is, I'm actually kind of mad at myself because I've known that this existed. I did not want to spend the money. I think the one that they sent me, it's the sport one. It's about $250. And in my head, I was like, I don't know if it's going to work as well as it says. I can't invest that kind of money. But I have gone to doctor's appointments. I have spent so much money in over-the-counter medicines. And then I keep booking these excursions that cost me my actual money and my actual time that are then ruined when I throw up the whole time and then I'm nauseous the rest of the day. Like, what is wrong with me that I was not previously willing to invest this in something that, I don't know, would they really be charging this much if it didn't work and giving people a money back guarantee? I guess that's how I am thinking about it now. And I just wish that I had done it sooner and saved myself all these experiences. Guys, this is an actual real life story because we will never rep something to you unless we love it. But it is also, in fact, an ad because we have a code for you. Because Relief Band has given us 25% off for our audience, which is the best code that they have out there. And we are so excited about this because I know that there are a bazillion of you that have the same problem because you are messaging me on Instagram. And I cannot wait to hear real life stories of you being able to take advantage of this amazing sale and to just shift. It's not even just for motion sickness.
Right. If you have migraines, if you're pregnant, if you're going through chemo, no matter the reason that you are struggling with nausea, it can help you in a medicine-free way, which I really love. So Code Wonderland, we are going to put it in the show notes. Check that out. Okay, we are going to move on and we're going to speed up a little bit because we have so much to share in so little time. So after sailing, you stumbled across a pottery place and you shared about it on Instagram as well. So people head over there, find her highlight if you're a visual person, you want to see this stuff. But it looked absolutely precious. I love pottery places.
Me too. Me too. And we knew that we wanted to go into some little shops and exciting places along the way. And we kind of wanted it to be like we have a general direction in mind, but no true destination. So we started driving towards the New London area and we saw signs. They do a really good job with these big green signs on the side of the road telling you where random little things are, like Trout River Pottery. This was literally a tiny little house down a tiny little road, and I pulled up to it. It doesn't quite look like a business. You're like, can I actually walk in here right now?
Yeah.
Like it feels like you're going into somebody's garage attached to their home or whatever. But you walk in and there was this amazing man in the back making pottery and his beautiful studio of all of these gorgeous, gorgeous mugs, bowls, everything you can imagine. And we were immediately drawn to the one with the lupins on them because everywhere on this island, you see these stunning purple and pink lupins. They just grow in the ditches on the side of the road everywhere you look. It's insane. And some people may know lupins as lupines because that is what they are called elsewhere. But in fact, on Prince Edward Island in Canada, there is no E on this word. It is lupins. I verified that. And they are beautiful. And I got the most gorgeous handmade mug from this gentleman with the lupins painted on it. And I am in love with it. I cannot think of a better souvenir from this trip.
I loved it too. You shared it, and I was like, that is 100% the same kind of souvenir that I would have wanted. It was precious.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the pottery, you guys found the Warburton Heritage Road before stopping for a late lunch at a place that served one dish that you really, really love. So food is big for you when you travel. You're not a foodie, but at the same time, you love to find really great food spots. So what was this place, and what should people order if they go there?
Yes. So, very, very briefly, when we were at Trout River Pottery, we asked for recommendations because I had, like I said, loosely itinerarized. Don't even know if that's a word, but I didn't have it set, which we loved. So we were asking locals along the way for things to do. And he told us that these heritage roads were nearby. They are red dirt roads that still run all over the island. Now, one thing I would do differently, I would get an all-wheel drive car. Because when it's been raining and you're going on dirt roads that are also steep hills, sometimes you cannot make it in a tiny Volkswagen Jetta and you have to turn around.
Oh, gosh.
It would have been really
Sounds
fun.
awful.
Yeah, it would have been really fun to be able to explore more of these types of roads, but they are so beautiful. They're just these one lane red dirt roads that run through the forest, and some of them run through the open country, and beautiful. Definitely exploring the heritage roads is worth it, but you will want a more expensive car to do so. So we got all kinds of recommendations from him. Ultimately, we ended up PEI Preserve Company. This was their main location in New Glasgow. We had gone to one of their little shops on the wharf in Charlottetown, and they had told us that their main big shop and restaurant is in New Glasgow, and that's where we went. And they had this dish that was a potato pie, and it was heavenly. It is like a million thin layers of potato with cheese and chives and all kinds of things layered and then topped with this sauce that was, I don't know, like maple syrupy in a way. I don't know how to describe. I know.
Okay.
You don't think that this combination of things
Yeah, I
work.
wasn't expecting that.
No, it was just lightly sweet. I don't know how, they actually gave us a card with the recipe and I lost it because apparently so many people asked for the recipe for this dish.
That's kind of impressive that they're willing to give it out.
That's
their
what I
special
said.
recipe.
That's what I said. But, because, it's such a small island, I guess that's not hurting their business. People will still come and eat that pie, even if they can make it at home. But because the island's famous for the potatoes, it's the local potatoes. And it was so good. So you better go there and you better get a slice of that potato pie. You will not regret it. It was amazing. And that was another place that was so beautiful to have a pot of tea and look out of the window. The scenery out the window was amazing. They're connected to this beautiful garden that you can walk through. And it's this company called Gardens of Hope. It's actually a nonprofit where they provide a week to people in hospice to come stay in their beautiful cabin on their beautiful property. So all of the profits and the donations and everything from the gardens goes to fund this incredible mission. And it was beautiful. We just wandered the gardens for a while. And I just think that that's such a special organization that does that for these people and their families so that they can have this peaceful retreat during what's a very, very hard stage of life.
Love that. I love that so much. I'm glad that you shared about them. After this, so we're going to actually speed up here because we have to get to your Anne of Green Gables day.
We do.
So we're going to I want you to give us your itinerary because you had a big driving day. So tell us, you saw many lighthouses. Just kind of shout out the points so that people, if they are driving, they can know what maybe they want to look up. And then we're going to fast forward to Anne of Green Gables day.
Yeah, so I wanted to route us up the coast to see a bunch of lighthouses. So we started with Sea Cow Head Lighthouse. It was beautiful, but it was foggy, and so we didn't actually see much of the ocean, but the fog cleared and the sun came out halfway through that day, which was amazing. Next, we went to Summerside, which is a little town where we found the best coffee house, Samuel's Coffee House. They had a great breakfast sandwich and awesome coffee. Definitely would go there. There was an awesome park nearby that overlooked the water. It was called Linkletter Beach Park. It had a playground, great for families. We then stopped at a place called the Bottle Houses, and this is actually like a Ripley's Believe It or Not site where you can see these houses constructed entirely of glass bottles, and it was very cool. It was a little bit pricey per person. I want to say it was like $16 a person to get in there, if I'm remembering correctly. It is worth stopping. It's very, very unique, but it's one of those things like you only need to see it once. I wouldn't go back, but it is very cool to look at and to see. Our favorite stop of the day was the Cape Edgemont Lighthouse. Absolutely gorgeous. There is an actual sea arch built of rocks that is in the sea if you look over the edge from that lighthouse, and it was beautiful. The sea arch might be gone when you go because there's so much erosion, because none of this is actually rock. It is all like dirt and sand. So the erosion is a constant thing. In between Summerside and the Bottle Houses, I forgot to mention that we drove past the Notre Dame du Mont Carmel. And this is an incredible church, just on the side of the sea in this big open space, just this church overlooking the ocean with this graveyard that has hundreds of year old graves in it. And it is so stunning. You can go inside. It was worth the stop for sure. It was absolutely beautiful. There was like nobody else there, and it was amazing. I'm sorry that I'm going so fast. Like, I have so much that I want to say, but also we are at 53 minutes already, and we're not even done yet. So at the end of all of this, we got to West Point Lighthouse, which was supposedly like the highlight. It is supposed to be haunted. It's got a lot of interesting history. You can go up inside it. They're kind of a museum inside. You do have to pay a little admission fee to go look at all the things. It's interesting. You can climb all the way to the top, but it's not the most beautiful of everything that we saw. And while the history was interesting, it was quite far. And I honestly think that I would have skipped this. I think I would have stopped at Cape Edgemont Lighthouse, and then I would have rerouted across the island to the other side to look at St. Mary's Church, which we didn't ultimately get to because we drove for far too long. And then I would also probably do Thunder Cove Beach, which we did end up doing the next day, which was absolutely incredible. So I didn't do it quite right, but I did want to drive up the West Coast. Ultimately, the East Coast has prettier drives because you can drive through the national park and it has a road that has perfect views of the sea all the way through, rather than the West Coast Drive, which kind of comes in and out of the forest and the coast.
It's hard to know, before you get somewhere, which is why podcasts are so helpful, because now someone planning the trip has a leg up from somebody who's actually seen it and kind of was like, weighing my options now. This is what I would do differently. Yeah. So I think it's really important to share things that maybe didn't go quite right, or things that you would do if you changed it next time.
Guys, we'll get back to the episode in a second, but we wanted to remind you that this episode is presented to you by Yahoo Travel. We are writing the Why Wonder newsletter in partnership with Yahoo, and this is a fantastic newsletter. It comes to your inbox 2 times a week, and it will really help families travel more for less, just like we teach you on the podcast. It covers earning and maximizing points and miles, and has practical advice and inspiration, not just dream destinations. So it really is just an extension of what we are doing here on the podcast.
Yeah, our goal is to keep you up to date on what's happening in travel, any latest developments from Yahoo Travel that our listeners would love. So head on over to travel.yahoo.com. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you put your little star or favorite, the first issue that you get, so that your inbox knows, hey, we want to get this in our inbox, not in the spam or promotions folder. So make sure you set that so that we will be in your inbox twice a week. We are so excited, and we're so thankful for everyone who's signed up so far.
Yes, we are. And now let's get back to this episode.
Okay, we got to get to Anne of Green Gables Day because while you did see a little bit of Anne of Green Gables stuff already because it's everywhere on the island, you had a designated Anne of Green Gables Day.
Mhm.
So, what did you do on that special day?
Yeah, and we saved it for last too. I wanted to see the rest of the island first and really just fall in love with it, which I did. I want to throw out that the night before, after our driving day, we had dinner at the Lost Anchor. Incredible lobster roll. It was so good. And we actually took our dinner to go and watch the sunset at the Cavendish Ocean View Lookoff. And it was one of the prettiest sunsets that I have ever seen in my life. So you are going to want to do that. And that's very important. So our Anne Day started at the Anne of Green Gables Heritage Place. And this is cool because it is the actual house where where Lucy Maud Montgomery's cousins lived. It was just a few minutes down the road from her childhood home where she lived with her grandparents after her parents died. And she was at this home all the time. And it looks like exactly what you would think of when you think of Green Gables. They say that it was her inspiration for Green Gables. She had a room there. It is really fun to be able to go through that house and wander that property and see where her mind would have come up with some of these beautiful things. She was a lover of nature and the forest, and you can see it come out in her writing. And this property was very cool. They have a lot of history in the museum, which is kind of built around the home, and then they have a lot of things in the home. At this particular property, a lot of the things are donated from people on the island and were not actually historically there during her time. After we went to the Heritage Place and walked down the road to see the foundation of the house where she actually grew up, which is no longer standing, we went to a bookstore that it's on the property there. I was able to purchase a copy of Anne of Green Gables that has the original first edition cover on it. And while you're there, they stamp your book with her actual signature. And then they also give you a stamp that says where you bought it, like which property you bought it on.
So cool.
It was very, very special. I also bought her complete first edition journals. And if you are interested in Anne of Green Gables and you are interested in the history of this island, I started reading the journals in the plane on the way home. Buy the journal ahead of time and read it because her descriptions of the island and her experience growing up on the island is so detailed. And it was so cool to be like, I was there. I saw that. I did.
Yeah.
Like I would read it ahead of time and go back and it would be incredible. So after that, we actually drove 25 minutes or so across the island to the Anne of Green Gables Museum in Park Corner, which is a totally different place. On the island, there is a town called Cavendish, which is essentially it was Avonlea. That was her inspiration for Avonlea. And it was this like tight-knit community. It's where she spent most of her time. And it's where all that main stuff that we did first is. It's where all of the really touristy Anne stuff is. Over on the other side near the coast in Park Corner is the Anne of Green Gables Museum. And this one was owned by a different branch of the family. But Lucy Maud Montgomery would go here for long visits, and it's where the Lake of Shining Waters was. And it also had a lot of inspiration for a lot of the things in her books, and it is mentioned in her journals. And they have a lot of actual artifacts from when she was there. There's a lot more history in this house that's not donated after the fact, and that just stayed in that house. And so that was actually my favorite of all of the Anne things that we did because it was just so cool to see everything connect and come together and know like this is the room where she got married.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And there you can get a carriage ride if you want. It's called Matthew's Buggy. It's quite expensive and we opted out because it's no longer a horse and carriage ride. It is now pulled by a tractor. I understand ethically maybe that's probably the right choice and that horses get quite tired doing lots of carriage rides per day. I don't think the magic would be quite as magical if you're in a buggy pulled by a tractor.
Yeah.
But if you want to, you could
went
pay.
to Pumpkin in the Farm in October real fast.
Yeah, it would have been close to $200 for us to do like this 1 hour down to this private beach kind of thing. It would have been beautiful. It looks incredible from the videos I've seen, but didn't want to
We
be
have to
pulled
make
by a
choices.
tractor. Yeah.
We have to
I
make
ended up using that
choices.
money to upgrade us on the way home, which we can talk about. So anyways, after the Ande, we got lunch at the Island Stone Pub, which is in an old train station, which is very cool. There used to be trains running all over this island. There are no longer, which I find very sad. This place is famous for its burgers, apparently. We didn't know that till afterwards, so we didn't get burgers, but the food we got was great. It's a fun place to stop for lunch. Then we went over to Thunder Cove Beach, which I mentioned I would route into the previous day's itinerary if I were to do it again. We went at low tide around 2 p.m., and it is such a cool beach to walk and to look at because the erosion everywhere is like stunning. There's like caves eroded into the walls, and there's columns everywhere, and all this layered rock-ish looking formations. It is the coolest beach that I have ever been on by far. So you do need to go to Thunder Cove Beach. So that was kind of our last thing. And every single night, besides the one night where we had dinner at the Lost Anchor, we actually had charcuterie and watched Anne of Green Gables in our Airbnb. Every night.
Wait, every night you watch the movie?
Well, I mean, it's so long. First of all, there's Anne of Green Gables, and then there's Anne of Green Gables, the sequel, and then there's like the one where they go to war. He goes to war. I don't know if you've seen all of them, but all the Megan Follows ones are good. You can get them on Amazon Prime, but we didn't even get through them. We did 45 minutes to an hour each night, and we still didn't get through them. One tip is that there were not a lot of great places to get groceries on this island. There were really small, we did find a market in North Restico that had pretty good groceries. But if I were to do it again, I would have loaded up in Charlottetown, where there's a bazillion good grocery stores where you can get really good charcuterie stuff, rather than driving around to multiple places our second night trying to figure out, like, what are we going to eat? I just really thought there would be a place to get groceries, and things were closed because it was Sunday night. It's
the worst when you're hungry and you're just driving around and you don't know where to go. And you're like, I need food now.
Feed me.
All right. Well, you had to eventually head home, even though it was just an unbelievable special time with your mom. You did have a little mishap going back through airport security on the cute little Prince Edward Island airport with their 3 gates. What happened?
Oh my gosh. So I had zero problem coming into Prince Edward Island with all of my travel-sized liquids. It has been a very long time since I've been in an airport where somebody told me they actually had to fit in, like a quart or a liter bag or whatever. When we were coming through, she was like, we were the only people there. There was not a single other person there. We had to return our car 3 hours before our flight. So I guess nobody else arrived that early. And the airport was completely empty. There was not a person in security. They were all just standing around. And the lady was like, okay, take out all your liquids, please. And I was like, oh. They're like scattered throughout my bag in different sections. Right. I've got 2 bags. And she was like, oh, yeah, those all need to fit in this baggie. She holds up this special liquid baggie. And I was like,
what?
That's not gonna happen.
That's a rule that we don't actually follow, right?
No, that's not a thing anymore. She said, because we're such a small airport, we don't have the more advanced scanning technology. And so this is how it goes. So she said, you get 2 bags because there's 2 of you. So if your mom has less than you can stuff some stuff in her bag. Ultimately, some of my things did have to go in the trash can. I had to make some tough decisions. That was not fun. So keep this in mind. She said
St. Kitts was like that.
Anything that smears is a liquid, is what she said. So I had like this very thick tub of, what was that?
Anything that smears. So like beef tallow. You use beef tallow.
Correct. That was one of the things in my bag. And she's like, yep, it smears. It's a liquid. And I was like, I don't think that's a liquid.
I know. I was so mad. In South Africa, they made me throw out some jam once that was in my carry-on, and I was so upset about it. I was so sad.
Do you know what she said? She was like, well, you can always check stuff, because we had actually gate checked our bags because we knew the whole thing that happened before, that the plane was going to be too small and they were going to ask us to do it anyway. So we did it first before we went through security. And it checked it all the way through to St. Louis, which means in our very small connection time in Montreal, we didn't have to deal with them. which was good. But the lady in security is like, you can put your liquids in, you can check them. And we're like, they took our bags. They're already gone. They went through that tube over there and disappeared into the horizon. And she's like, well, you could just check your liquids. And I'm like, that is something that costs money. I'm just going to throw them away. Because I picked the empty ones that I didn't care about that much. So that was interesting. And then we went out to wait in the waiting room, and a sweet little lady that worked the cafe told us that there is an outdoor deck. And she's like, you're going to walk down this hallway, and it's going to look like you can't go this way, but you can. And you're just going to open this door, and you're going to go out there, and there's a patio. You can watch the planes. It's open air. It's got chargers. It's got Adirondack chairs. We were the only people out there for the majority of the time we were out there. As the waiting room inside got more and more and more and more crowded, it kind of felt like, I was like, should I go in and tell these people?
Yeah, no one knows. It's a secret.
Knows. It literally is. And on the door, it says like no admittance or something, which is weird. And she's like, I don't know why they put that there. It's literally made for people to go outside.
So funny. All right. Well, how was your flight home? Did everything go smoothly? You had to connect really quickly.
That was crazy. So we booked Charlottetown to Montreal to St. Louis, one ticket booked through Avianca Life Miles. This one was $25,300 total, so $12,640 per person. Taxes and fees were higher. They were $110 each to come back. And we had the smallest, like less than an hour window to connect in Montreal, and our flight out of Prince Edward Island was delayed. I had decided that earlier that morning that I was going to pay to upgrade our seats. We could have taken the standard seats in the back of the plane. Instead, I paid $121 USD total to upgrade all four of our seats, so 2 on each of our flights. So we got the bulkhead, like premium extra legroom seats on the way to Montreal. So we were right behind business class, very close to the front of the plane. It was so comfortable and nice. It was totally worth the like $30 each person. Best decision of my life. And that way, when we were there, we could get off the plane like fast.
Quickly.
Which we needed to do, because then we had to run what felt like a mile, kind of like the Dublin airport, through zigzagging tunnels for so far to get to U.S. Customs, which we had to do. And then we had to go through security again. If our plane hadn't been delayed, we would have been there like as they were partway through boarding, with all of our running and scrambling and getting moved to the front of the line at one point. We get there and our plane has not even started boarding for no reason that they even informed us, and continued to not board for the next like 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it never said delayed anywhere. So we didn't know we had the option to slow down, which was so frustrating. You know what's embarrassing is when you end up cutting people in line because the security person tells you to, and then later you see those same people walk by you as you're standing outside your gate.
And they just like, okay, redhead.
Yes, that's
you didn't need to cut
I felt very judged. It wasn't my fault though.
Okay, I have a card question for you,
yes,
and I think I know the answer. But if someone is not, how dare them? If they are not an Anne of Green Gables fan, would you still recommend a trip to Prince Edward Island?
100%. Anne of Green Gables was one of our days, and we didn't even come close to seeing this whole island. If you were to drive the top to the bottom of the island, it would take you over 5 hours. It's a lot larger of an island than you think. There is so much to do. It is stunning everywhere you look. It is so beautiful. All of the little shops and experiences and meals and coasts and things you can do. I would recommend everybody go see it at least once in your life. And the best part about it is you feel quite wealthy. I just felt, when I look at a board and I see that the latte is $6, I'm like, yeah, well, that's how much it is at home, $6. And then you do the conversion and you find out it's like $4.20. You feel like it's on sale. Like everything felt like it was on sale because the US dollar goes much further. Like you're looking at all these prices in Canadian dollars thinking, yeah, that sounds about right. And then it's way cheaper than that. And it's the greatest feeling in the world. I'm like swiping my build card for everything and then looking at it as it converts on my transaction list. And I'm like, wow, that only costs that. Are you serious? Like this is so delightful.
I did not have that experience in Europe.
I'm not about to have that experience in Ireland, let me tell you.
But that's very fun. It sounds like such a great place for either a girls' trip or like a couple's getaway, a romantic
romantic.
Like honeymoon or baby moon or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, your kids would need to really enjoy the outdoors and lots of scenery and that kind of stuff for that to be fun. And I
For
know,
like a family trip.
I know there are hikes and things like that all over the place, and we really could have done a lot more in the national parks. We could have done more hiking and stuff, but we loved the way that this was just a loose itinerary, go with the flow, be spontaneous, only a few scheduled activities. It was a really special time for me and my mom. I will give one last tip on Air Canada. If you book through someone else, like for example, we booked Avianca Life Miles, I did not at any point put my Air Canada frequent flyer number into my reservation. And then I was on the airplane and could not use the Wi-Fi because the free Wi-Fi had to be, you had to put in your name and seat number, and it had to have your Air Canada number attached to that reservation. And if not, they can't tell that you're a Life Miles member, and that's who gets the free Wi-Fi. And I was super bummed and could not go back at that point after we had checked in and enter in the number anywhere.
That's a great tip just for anybody, because when you're booking American Airlines flight through Alaska Atmos, you can put in your AA number. Whenever you're booking a partner airline, if you can, find the spot and put in your loyalty number for the aircraft that you will be flying on their metal.
Yep.
Try to put that in for sure.
Yep, 100%. So I would tell people again and again, this place is worth the visit. It is a bit far. It is out like parallel almost with Maine. So if you can imagine, you're going far, far east after we went up to Toronto and then went way east and north. So that took about 2.5 hours to get out there. So that's the big leg of the trip. But it's like the most gorgeous thing ever. And you don't have to go all the way to Scotland or Ireland to see these beautiful views.
Similar vibes.
And you feel rich.
It sounds incredible. You guys, if you decide to book a trip to Prince Edward Island, let us know about it. It just totally makes us so happy when we hear things like, oh, I heard about your trip and then I booked the same day. I'm going to stay where you stay, do your itinerary. That is so awesome and helpful for us. It's also helpful for us because we can share that with businesses and hotels and are like, hey, look, we want to tell our people about you. And it's really helpful when we can give your testimonial to them. So please let us know. We appreciate that. You guys follow us on Instagram. I'm at Family Travel for the Win. Joanna is at her name, Joanna_Gammon. And find us on Facebook, Traveling on Points, Wonderland on Points. You can find our Facebook group, and we hope to connect with you there.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.